It makes mine sound easy now. I just renovated units. Just came in and renovated a unit, and I rented it out at a higher rent. But that's interesting. Yeah, see, like, yeah, that's interesting.
I think
Wow.
your strategy makes more sense. With how many units? I remember you told me how many units you had. I think it was like somewhere beyond 40, right?
Oh, I have a 26 unit and a 20 unit. So it's about 46 units collectively. But my 26 unit, I just finished everything. I'm 100% rented out now. So I'm grossing about $17,000 a month, and my loan's only 2,000.
Oh
So,
wow, how's your loan so low?
well, because my loan amount was only I bought for 500,000, 25% down. My loan's only 390K, and it's 4% interest because I got it in 2021. So literally, I doubled when I bought the property. It was about $8,000 gross. I doubled it because I doubled my rents after renovation. I pumped in about 250 into this to 300, and I'm getting about 700. I just finished renovation, rented all. I rented out like 7 units in like 1 month. So I'm
Wow.
grossing about 17K, and I mean things are breaking, but right now I'm probably cash flowing 6 to 7K a month. I basically almost replaced my income. Like I went from like nothing negative to like now I'm cash flowing like $7,000 a month. My 20 units like 90% occupied. That one probably cash flowing about 1 to 2K, and then I just sold my mobile home park, so I'm not bleeding anymore from that. So basically, almost replaced my income, but still gonna work. But it was crazy.
Yeah.
It's been a crazy ride, man. Like it was stressful as hell. Like um, everything happened like literally this past week. Like seriously, I just sold my park. I finally leased up my 26 unit and my 20 unit. Finally, just finished as well. Finished all the renovations. At the same time, finished at the same time. And now I'm just kind of cruising because I'm tired. I'm exhausted. And it's the holiday season, but that's what's crazy. Like, so I'm trying to like reallocate my portfolio now to see what makes sense. I might 1031 exchange some of my single family homes and just buy like a 30 to 50 unit in Oklahoma. Um, and get something, because if I buy a 50 unit, it's gonna gross around maybe 33 to 35K a month. So that's kind of my goal, but interest rates are shit right now. um,
Yeah.
so it's hard. Like my cash out refinance was like a 7%, which
Mm.
is not terrible. So I'm contemplating like just taking the extra cash flow and then just paying down my loan at 7% because I'm locking in a 7% return, right? And then if I'm cash flowing about 10K a month, it's 120K a year. In 3 years, I'll pay off one of my apartment complexes because my loan's like about 390-ish. So I just thought about that. Like I can pay one off, own it free and clear, and then, basically expedite my retirement if I want to. So it was crazy, man. Like I was eating crap for a lot. I'm not sure if I told you, but I had a guy who we started investing at the same time, but he went Airbnb route, and then he hit like 20K a month net income like fast. But now Airbnb's got hit a little bit, so he's kind of going down, and then all of a sudden, all mine just finished, and then like I just skyrocketed the cash flow. And then what's crazy is like Oklahoma City appreciated too, so now it's about 70K per door, and I bought mines for 20K per door, and I put in 10K per door, so I'm all in for 30K per door. So these are worth like 1.6, 1.7, but lenders are doing loan to cost, right? So they may not give me the full value. They just do like whatever I put in, but I locked in a 4% interest rate for 10 years, right? And I'm only in year 2. So, I'm trying to like sit back now and like reevaluate what I want to do, like how I want to pivot. I don't mind working as much, I guess. I kind of hated my job, if you asked me like maybe 2 years ago, but now I'm kind of like, like I kind of have an appreciation for my job now, given how much work. I mean, you're gonna go through it, right? You're just starting, but you'll realize like how much work it is.
Right.
Because like me and you, we can work 1 hour a day and we get paid 8 hours. Do absolutely nothing, right? And get paid 8 hours.
Mm.
Or we can work our ass off and do 10 hours a day and get paid the same, right? And then we get like 3% raises that doesn't match inflation. So yeah, I was very like I always thought like the real estate would be linear. It's exponential. Like I was eating crap. I mean, I would say all of 2023 was a shit show for me. Like collectively, I felt like I was getting, yeah, I thought I wanted to quit real estate at one point. I was like, this is terrible. I was getting punched left and right every single day. Everything that you think can go wrong went wrong. So yeah, just kind of preface your journey, like, you know, HOAs and all that legal, I don't know, like things can change. You're gonna get hit left and right. But
Yeah,
just
there's that possibility.
as long as you have the reserves to sustain and you can take the hits, then long term you won't really lose, right? So like you bought instant equity on the deal, which is nice. In terms of the value add, maybe not as much of a bite, I guess, compared to my deals, but you just have that natural appreciation. So when you have that cushion built in, it gives you that cushion for your exit strategy, right? Because like for me, I only survived like my mobile home park. I sold it for a loss. I lost money on that deal. That was a losing deal for me. But it was just more of like I spent 80% of my time on the mobile home park and I lost money. I spent 20% of my time on my apartments and they were both like home runs. So using the 80-20% rule, I'm like, is a no-brainer. Like had I you saw my post, right? Had I just took the money from the
I
mobile home
did,
park
yeah.
and put that in that 50-unit apartment complex, the section 8 that was grossing 30K, 33K a month. Holy shit, man. I probably could quit my job confidently. Like,
Yeah.
you know, because I was getting like 4% interest rate back then, and it was cash flowing like 8% cash on cash at that time. And this is guaranteed income, right? This is like on the first of every month, you get 33K in your bank account every month. And when I shot that deal down, I was so new. Now I kick myself. I'm like, dude, like, there's a certain peace of mind knowing that on the first of every month, you're getting all your rent. Right? Like apartments, I'm not even guaranteed all my rents, right? Like mobile home park was even worse, right? You get 70% collections. So I'm not sure how you experience collections, but like there's always like you never get 100% collections in apartments or anything. But Section 8, you're guaranteed 100%. They send you the majority on the first of every month. Like rain or shine, you get that amount. So
Hey, what fraction are you Section 8 right now?
which properties is Section 8?
What fraction of your rental income is still Section 8?
Honestly, I think my apartments, none of them.
None of them, right? That's what I thought. You said they started off Section 8, haven't
Yeah,
continued.
when I bought the property, I had like 2 that are Section 8. Honestly, my property managers didn't prefer Section 8, but they were at one point when we had like 7 vacant units. I just told them like, hey, like if we want to rent out these units fast, we could do Section 8. And they even told me, but they're like, you know what, give us like a month, we'll try it without Section 8. And if not, we're open to Section 8 because they said they were getting like 2-3 calls a day for Section 8. You know, so like I could have done it, but they ended up leasing out 5-6 units non-Section 8 because I would know because you'd see the, you know, from the housing department and it would go in. So, you know, it's always an option, and you know, it's nothing wrong. Like it's nice to have some that security as well, but you do have to deal with extra things. But I was surprised at 100% occupancy. I'll be honest. Like I was expecting around, I was at 24 out of 26, and I was like, oh, that's the best I'll do. But literally, I just asked for a rent roll. And then they're just like, yeah, we're 100%. I was like, what the heck? Like, what's crazy about apartments, and you'll see it too, is like if I just lease out 3 of my vacant units that are remaining, and you're at like $1,000 each, that's $3,000 more dollars, but that's net profit for the most part because you have economies of scale, right? So it's just kind of like, why buy another single family home that gets me $300 in cash flow when I just can rent out one of my apartment units, and that's all like for the most part net because you have like economies of scale. With multi units. So that's what you'll kind of experience, you know, like you raise rents by like $50 times it by 10, right?
Right.
You know, so it's so how long have you owned the apartments? Is it pretty new?
So these ones are very recent acquisition. I had 5 doors right in that same area. So that's kind of my competitive advantage is I know that area very well. And it's an area that's kind of appreciating and gentrifying pretty heavily within Austin. So that's kind of why I focus in that pocket. But generally, you know, I pick my markets and then I pick the areas within it. I kind of gradually do that. And then I try to buy within that area. Because, you know, you work W-2 as well. So you kind of know. Are you still full-time, by the way?
Oh yeah, I'm full time.
Okay. I
Yeah.
figured, yeah, I thought you said so before, and I recalled that. As you know, with W-2, it limits your ability to be as proactive as possible with real estate, so you kind of have to tread that barrier carefully, and manage the time well. But you know, I didn't want to go into any flips because it's something that I perceive as a bit riskier unless I'm able to be a bit more proactively on site, monitoring and project managing. I know that's a huge component of it, or hire somebody. And I thought, you know, eventually I might venture down that road if work slows down a little bit and I had a bit more time to invest there and find a good deal, obviously. But there's some markets where it's highly competitive because there's a lot of flippers there and they're all scouting the same deals. And I know Austin's one of those markets. So I chose a market that, you know, that kind of plays hardball when it comes to flipping. Um, but for you, you know, how are you doing that remotely? Are you still managing those projects? And I think you said you're fully stabilized now, but were you managing those remotely or on site?
Yeah, I was working full time the whole time. I owned 90 units. I was renovating my 26 unit, my 20 unit, and my mobile home park while working full time remotely. So, you know, I say that because I just kind of want, um, you know, to basically make people know that it's possible, right? Like I did it, and it's stressful as hell. I'll be honest, right? And then I did lose a lot of money, but you know, I basically have systems and teams and checks and balances, and that's it, right? You know, luckily I have star players for my property managers and general contractors. But what I learned throughout this whole process was that it's kind of weird. I always thought like, you know, kind of going back, like I was inadequate. So because of that, I thought I had to work harder just to be like a normal person. But I've always done it that way my whole life. So even when I got into multifamily real estate, I always did things very fast, very efficient, and always leveraged other people's expertise. I thought that's what all real estate investors did, right? But it was very
Mhm.
humbling when I was selling my mobile home park because I was talking to other like buyers, like you know, the people who buy my mobile home park, they own like 3 or 4 mobile home parks. But holy shit, they're so unsophisticated. Like they don't have systems, they don't have processes, they're slow, right? Like they don't communicate proactively. They just do things very slow, one step at a time. I'm like, how the hell does this guy own 4 mobile home parks, right? So what I learned, and then people like, I had one buyer back out on me on the day of closing, literally on the day of closing, he ghosted me.
Wow.
Like he ghosted me. That's why I said I was really stressed, right? Like that if that guy closed, you know, I would have made money. I would have made $200,000 on the deal, and you know, sail off, right? But
Hmm.
he basically, instead of communicating to me saying, "Hey, you know what? Wasn't able to raise the money," blah 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 blah. He just ghosted and went radio silent, right? But then you know, like the younger generation, us, we're more about transparency and like communication and being proactive, right? And then even my second buyer, on the day of closing, his partner backed out, right? But literally, he found another partner within 5 days who was exactly like me, very action oriented, and like you know, I'm the type where like if I say I'm gonna do something, I'm gonna do it. Right. If I say I'm gonna close on this day, I'm gonna close on this day. If I don't close on this day, I'm gonna communicate that to you that hey, these are my delays and this is my new expected closing date. Like I like to keep people informed and communicate, right? Because what I learned was as a seller, the worst fear is the fear of the unknown. And that's what stressed me out, pissed me off. Right. Like I don't care what the end result is. I just want to know an update on the deal. So I didn't
Right.
realize it because I've always bought deals. I bought a shit ton of deals, right? Like I bought a
Hmm.
lot of real estate and I didn't realize that like I was the anomaly. I communicate. I do things fast. I give updates. So once I learned that, I'm like, dude, I'm like one of the best buyers you can work with ever, right? And then in terms of selling, I'm one of the best sellers too. It's how you do everything. It's how you do everything. So now that I know that, I'm like, oh shit, I didn't have a frame of reference because I always just did things how I did things. I didn't have a frame of reference until I worked with these buyers who I thought were better than me, but in reality, they're like so unsophisticated. Can't even like. I asked them like, how do they even like, I don't know, brush their teeth? They're so like unsophisticated. They don't have systems
Hmm.
in places. They don't communicate. Like they even like the guy has to go to a bank to do a wire. He can't do it himself. And he has to go and then go to the teller and to do a wire transfer for him, right? So it's just like stuff like that, and it was very interesting for that. And just going through that experience, I'm like, damn, like I basically know I can dominate whatever real estate market I want to do. And now I know why people sold to me off market. I wonder why did someone sell to me? Because most brokers are crap, right? They bring you a shitty buyer who they just don't vet really. And then like the brokers that I worked with, they added no value to like, you know, the deal. Like my mobile home park, they were my broker and my property manager, terrible property manager, no accountability, right? You know, I had everything working against me. You know, so you know, luckily I came out unscathed. Relatively speaking, I lost about 60K in the deal, but that's pretty good considering everything else. But why I didn't lose much money because I bought it right. I bought my deal right. That's all it is, right? And I prove a value add plan. That's the only reason why I didn't lose crazy money. But property managers were garbage. And then like they were the consultants, but they were having me draft up the agreements. I was doing like paralegal work, you know, and then the title company, Alabama, it's a title attorney state. So you work with a paralegal. She was dumb as rocks. I was writing all the contracts for her. Like I would tell her what to write, and she would write it wrong, and I had to correct it. Right. This is like the OCD pharmacist in us, right? Very detail oriented. So I'm just like, I'm like, geez, man, I'm like the broker, the consultant, the title attorney. I'm doing everything. So I'm just like, and then the title attorney was like pissing me off because she was like, oh, this is a complicated deal. I'm like, no, it's not. I've done it before. I have templates for you. Just change the buyer's name. Right. So I'm just like, oh my God, like people are stupid as hell in real estate. So once I realized that, I'm just like, I can dominate this. I get why I'm dominating it. Like people are stupid for the most part, but it's frustrating dealing with those stupid people who you would expect to know more than you. Right? I'm part-time, right? I'm part-time real estate. Yeah, I'm no more than people who are doing this full time. So it just makes like absolutely zero sense to me. Like I know more than my property managers who've been in mobile home parks for like 20, 30 years. But like they didn't know shit, right? They just kind of bullshitted me to get me to buy the park. But that's salesy, right? That's sales and marketing.
Right, that's sales for you.
Yeah.
You know, with this mobile home park, I'm glad you kind of shared your story on the different various forums because you know, a lot of people were pitching mobile home parks, you know, heavily. I'd say last year for syndication, for all kinds of things, and I always kind of knew. Well, I felt that, you know, that tinge of hesitation because I knew that there was more to it, right? Like you know, I've done long-term rentals for a long time, as you have, and mobile home parks seem to be in a weird gray area where it didn't make sense how returns were that good, and people were marketing like, oh, you're gonna get, you know, these massive double-digit returns, and it's gonna be so simple and easy, and you just take the occupancy from 50% easily up to 90%. But they're staying with so much confidence because they had done long-term rentals and apartments, which is a whole different category, right?
Beast. Yeah, I mean, like, so most people that reached out to me, because most people do single family homes, they go to apartments. After apartments, you try to understand in a mobile home park because they think, oh, it's a cash cow, affordable housing. But dude, like, there's so many steps in the process. Like, you listen to all the podcasts, they're all rosy. I was trying to flip my park to the top 5 syndicators, and I will tell you, I hand plattered my deal, to a top 5 syndicator. And I could tell his operations was a complete shit show. And he's a top 5 operator. If the top 5 operator is a complete shit show, how do you think I'm going to be as like an individual one person, or the average person going to be as 1 or 2? Right?
What made you feel like they weren't running a very tight ship? What gave that away?
Like, dude, most people are begging for people to hand them a deal on a platter. I literally handmade them a deal. Like, hey, I did their due diligence for them. And I had actual tangible numbers to back it up because this was my plan, right? Like I literally said, hey, you can bring in a brand new mobile home for $40,000. I use True Homes. Here's the contact. I have this lender who's giving me 100% financing. I rented it out for $750. I had tangible numbers, right? Like I'm not making it up. I have hard evidence. It's not me bullshitting you on a spreadsheet. I literally have evidence. I've done it, right? And I would be like, hey, Like you can assume my seller finance note. It's amazing. I will sell or carry second on the second position, so you can do a lower down payment, so that you can come in because you're going to put a lot of money to renovate this park. I already presented it for them because I think like an investor. I'm usually the buyer, so I know what the buyers want. And I literally handed it to him on a silver platter, and like it took me like 5 calls to get a hold of this guy, the acquisitions guy. I'm like, dude, if you buttoned up, if someone sends me a deal like that, I'm gonna talk to you seriously. Because I'm like, this guy seems like he's motivated. He wants to make it work. And for me, I'm like flexible too. I'm not gonna like flake on you. I'll just tell you how it is. So because I know how a smooth business should operate, because I know I operate a pharmacy, hospital pharmacy, right? Like nothing is more complicated than a hospital pharmacy. Definitely not a mobile home park. So I just can see how like unbuttoned and like disorganized they were. And I'm like, if you listen to all their podcasts, they talk as if like the greatest thing ever, right? Because it's marketing. They're trying to get you excited about mobile home parks. They want to get you to invest their money. So ironically, I'm so truthful that I can probably raise money. But then because I'm so truthful, I don't want to really raise money, if that makes sense. I'm just sharing my experience, that what I'm doing, right? Like none of the syndicators would that you see on any forum would do what I did. They're not going to shell out all. I gave you all my dirt, all my dirty laundry, right? On the deal. I give you the good and the bad. And I'll tell you, I missed on the mobile home park. And I'm going to make a video as to why.
Well, tell me more about that, actually. So, like, what elements of value add did you do for it before trying to sell? And
yeah, I mean,
where specifically did you, like, miss the ball? You think there was more potential maybe left on the table?
Well, I made every single mistake in the book. So, number one, that was a high crime area, higher crime than I would like, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, you have the high security guard, and that cost money. Number two is the performer that the consultants gave me were complete bullshit, right? The expenses were way too low. They quoted me $9,000 a month, but that thing costed around at least 15 to 18K just to operate at break even. Just to operate, not even get anything, right? Number two is they oversold me that it was easy to evict tenants. Like my property managers did not evict any tenants, right? Like we had people who owned homes and they paid like 150 in lot rent, but it's going to cost me $700 to evict each of these people. So that's what, 4 months worth of lot rent just to evict somebody, right? I'd rather do cash for keys or something, right? On top of that, I had COVID. You can't evict people during COVID in Alabama. I had rental assistance program, so I had to help them sign up for that. And most people in mobile home parks, they don't have much of an education, so you're gonna have to baby them. My property manager on site didn't have much of an education, and you can't just fire your property manager and hire a replacement like apartments. I can fire both my property managers right now. I have 3 lined up. If I wanted to. Mobile home park, you fire your property manager, you get to train someone internally to get them used to it. On top of that, all the construction estimates that they gave me were bad. I mean, albeit supply costs went up during COVID, right? So things got more expensive. Basically, I fix up a unit, rent it out, tenant won't stay that long, and then I have to re-renovate that unit because they would kind of damage the unit because mobile home parks are not as durable, right? They're not as sturdy as stick-built apartments. On top of that, you have to do, 55 acres of land, a lot of land, a lot of mowing grass. I have to trim trees. It's expensive. It costs $700 to trim a tree. Basically I would like lease out to like one tenant and then they would leave. And then I had a lot of units that need to be fixed up. So, I just said I didn't have enough capital for this deal. Right. Then the people I sold to, they're bringing in at least $1 million to fix it up on top of what I put in. So it's basically I messed up every rule in the book. And then the offsite property managers, they managed 70 mobile home parks, but honestly, they oversold it and they had zero accountability, which is what I didn't like about them. They just make excuses. They don't give me solutions. They just give excuses. Right. And they were blaming me that the park was like a failure. I'm like, dude, I listened to what you said. You're the consultants, right? I did everything you said.
Right.
So, I mean, anything, I don't hold a grudge, whatever, like that's why I said, had I took that money and bought that 50 unit apartment complex, I'd be on a boat somewhere or I'd be like in Bali or somewhere cheap, you know, like retired. But you know, like I kind of say that like that was probably my first loss in real estate, and I only lost $60,000 in real estate, and I've made about 4 million in real estate, and
Yeah,
60K.
so that's not bad when you put it in that perspective. Take me through the timeline really quick. When did you start with that mobile home park? Like what, month and year, and then when did
Yeah.
you liquidate it?
So 26 unit. I bought it in August of 2021. Mobile home park was November 2021. 20 unit was May of 2022.
Oh wow. So very, very quickly one after the other. Okay.
I went on a shopping spree, and I had
Yeah.
an RV park under contract too that I let go. So that's how fast I scale. That's why I haven't bought anything in the past year and a half, because I bought too much real estate. I got in over my head, and I was like, oh shit, I need to stabilize this, and everything like was more expensive than I expected, right? So all the money I took, I reinvested back into my park. I never take any cash flow, but now I'm finally reaping the. That's why I said I literally went from like my mobile home park was probably bleeding like 10K a month. So by me selling that, I just go from negative 10K a month to just zero. So I'm not bleeding anymore. My apartment now is making $6,000 a month. My 26 unit, my 20 unit is probably like 1,000